time coming,
It's been
man.
processed.
Yeah.
I feel like we've had a lot of podcasts without the camera.
Yeah, without the camera. Well, for the audience that is gonna they're gonna watch this, the reason I wanted you on was because as you know, I the first time we met was properly and got to know each other was I came to you with an injury, an hip injury, a psoas injury. I don't even know what a psoas was until I met you. But man, I never felt so better after all the rehabs that we went through and whatnot, and ever since then, especially when I created this platform, I wanted you on because I was like, I'm not the only person. It's not even to speak about my injuries that, man, I was just so engaged as to the pressure environment that you must go through when athletes come around, genuine athletes come around, you know, and they're looking to you to just fix them, man.
That I didn't feel that until much later on, because obviously as you sort of build up a name for yourself, you get different tiers of athletes coming through, right?
Yeah.
Now you get the weekend warriors. For them, you're just dealing with essentially a coach. The hardest person to please with the weekend warriors themselves, like, hey dude, don't play on the weekend because of these reasons. They're gonna want to play, right? But as you kind of go up the tiers, you're not dealing with just the athlete itself. You know, some of the guys that have contracts that are on the line. Some guys that have, you know, that's their income with their family. So those decisions that you make about how you're going to approach it, how long you're going to give them, because here's the thing, right? At the end of the day, you want to get them better ASAP. I want you on the field. I want you playing ASAP. Problem is, sometimes ASAP, you're going to, if it falls through, it's on you, not on them. If you look at someone and say, hey, look, I reckon 3 weeks, we're going to do this and this and this and this. If you get that wrong, it's not their fault, it's your fault. And so sometimes you have to find that balance between being too conservative and saying, no, man, we're going to give it 6 months. They haven't got 6 months, right? If they've got a contract on the line, if they're playing for a contract, if there's pressures on them financially, they're not going to want to wait 6 months, right?
I think it's a thankless job as well, because even if it's something, say, out of your control, I think the results of how they get better and if they're better is always going to be on your shoulders, because ultimately, you know, as human beings, we don't want to, you know, sometimes expect, you know, you go on like, oh, you're meant to fix me or you're meant to make me better, but sometimes, you know, so I think it goes both ways. Like if you're listening, like if you go by, I guess, instructions and, you know, the feedback you've given them and they get better, then and sometimes, you know, as we know, people tend to deviate away from that, and then you know, sometimes it's
all these things you have to, and I think it's very dangerous to be the person that makes the final call, right? I never want to be the guy that makes the final call. So I surround myself with a team and I get input from everyone that's seen that person and go, okay, what do you guys think? Because in that way, they're informed consent. I think the best way to get results is if the athlete knows what's wrong with them, they know what it takes to get better. And if you've taken through a bunch of tests or whatever and say, hey, this is where you're at the moment, in our opinion, you need to be at these markers before you can safely play again. At the end of the day, you've kind of put a little bit of the onus on the athlete to say, you've got a bit of work to do too. You can come and see me every day, you can come and see me every whatever it is. If you're not hitting these targets, like it's up to you too. So we're more like the drivers, right? It's much easier to hold someone back from playing than it is to push them to play, right? Because some injuries can be pretty traumatic and some of them have that sort of mental block and they think, oh, I can't go back out there, like I don't know if it's going to happen again, especially with knees and ACLs, especially in soccer. It'll happen again, and you have to kind of almost become like a psychologist, like, hey man, it's okay, let's go through this, go nice and slow. And you're going to tick those boxes with them. So there is limiting factors on both sides, but man, I would never want to be in the position to be the sole person making that decision of, you know, you're back to go back. I put it on them, say, have you done this? How do you feel about that? Here's your strength testing, here's your feeling. And then if they go, yeah, I've done all those things, boom, 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 we've tested them, then have evidence and information go, cool, to do it. Based on this information, this evidence I have in front of me, you've ticked all my boxes. I'm happy for you to go back.
Because I was going to say, one thing that you touched on was the mental aspect as well. And, you know, like, I know personally, like, that injury was, man, borderline depression. And I remember even just coming and seeing you, like, a lot of the conversations was just mentally, like, being able to, you know, one thing is doing the rehab, but mentally being confident that you feel good and you know that you're heading in the right direction. And I know a lot of people that had ACL injuries, half the reason that they tore the ACL again was not so much, it was just mentally. They thought they felt better. They didn't really go about the rehab process as much as they probably should have. But even that ounce of doubt
that kills
they just made the wrong move or wrong turn, or even like, you know, walking and, you know, but they never were confident. They kept thinking about it. The whole energy was on it, mentally on it. Sure. And it's almost like they tired themselves out thinking about it.
You psych yourself out. If you go into attack, I mean, I talk a lot about soccer because that's my background, but we can talk about, you know, fighting, we talk about, you know, MMA, golf, tennis, but in a soccer, if you go half-hearted, what they call into a tackle, if you kind of doubt into a tackle, you're more likely to get injured from that anyway, right? So a few things I'll touch on is that, the return to a success for me, a successful return to sport is seeing their pre-injury state and actually get them to come back stronger, like for me. And sometimes an experience that I've had with a lot of people, it doesn't have to be sports people, a lot of people, is that it's actually quite humbling to get injured, because sometimes it forces you to pull the handbrake up and go, what are you lacking? Like, well, why did you get injured? Was it a freak accident? Did you just really just twist your knee, or did you fall over and break your shoulder? Or has your body been giving you signs along the way and you just kind of been brushing the side and saying, no, it's not too bad, but it's been giving you the information the whole time. And then you get humbled because something happens and you're forced to pull the handbrake up. Okay, you're not playing for 3 months and you think, oh, geez. But then what I find is the experience that they go through that sort of grief period. They go, oh my God, maybe I should quit. I don't want to play anymore. This is too injured, blah, blah. And they'll go through the anger stage. I can't believe it's happened, blah, blah. And then they kind of go like, look, I want to go back. What do I got to do, right? And that's when you go, okay, here's what we're going to do.
You got to get them.
You got to get them for sure.
Well,
Man, we can slap it with rehab and treatment. If you're not mentally aware of what you're going to be doing, it's just hard for them to get back. And the thing is, what I find as well is that the reason they come back stronger is they've had that adversity, they've had that downtime, they've had that depression, so to speak, about getting injured, and they start to enjoy the rehab because they're feeling things they hadn't felt before. They start engaging things, and then when they go, wow, I wish I was like this before my injury. So the trick is not to get guys that are in their mid-20s, late 30s, right? To get them when they're young. Teach the young guys, teach the 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old guys the importance of strength and conditioning, the importance of recovery, right? When I talk to a lot of people, like some of my questionnaires I have when I take a history is like, what's your sleep like? What's your food like? What do you do for active recovery? Sometimes they don't even know what that is. Like sometimes they go like, oh, I'll foam roll a little bit.
That's what I found interesting, man, before you continue about coming to you as well, was that some of the questions you were asking me, it was away from just my injury. It was about, am I sleeping enough? What am I eating? What's my diet like? What's my recovery like? Just about my life, because one of the things you mentioned was just all those added stress on your muscles, and in turn if you're not looking after yourself, then you're just going to put pressure and kind of, I guess, set yourself up for that pain and injuries and whatnot, and it really took me away, because I was like, man, here I am thinking about this bloody injury, but
it's bigger.
But it's bigger than that. And then, and I know from my personal experience, I think it was my second kickboxing fight, and I came and saw you about 3-4 months later, because I was just like, what's going on? And then you explained to me that it's your hips, your hip flexors, and then obviously we did a few rehab exercises you showed me, and one of the things that I really took away was that when people think rehab, it's like not training. And one of the things you told me was, you got to keep training.
Absolutely.
So once I did, certain for the audience, like there was banded exercises and stuff that basically alleviated the pressure and released pressure from my hips and allowed me to have better movement, and I felt more lubricated around that region, and especially for kickboxing where you use your hips. And then obviously I never got to fight again kickboxing, but I went to boxing, but the instant mentally, I felt like I was a new person.
Awesome.
And and I was just like, and then adding not that the sleep or anything was an issue, but it was more the fact that I think sometimes mentally you feel down on these injuries and you don't know what's triggering it, or oh man, I feel like shit. But I didn't know for so long, because I just computerized my mind to be like, dude, you just got to deal with this shit.
It's your awareness.
Right? So it's like, okay, I'm dealing with whatever this is. But then the moment that I found a way to alleviate that pressure and that pain and actually have comfort, and it was like a massive relief.
Absolutely, man.
Then I slept better. I was walking around with a spring in my step. I was getting up like as if I was feeling like $1 million.
Yeah, for sure.
And I read more about it just outside of just like my rehab with you, but anyone with that similar psoas injury, and it was the same things. They were like, man, feeling depressed, feeling down, feeling like it was affecting my life. And I never realized something like that could change your mood, could change the way you sleep, could change the way you interact with people.
Mate, it's crazy.
I
don't want to sort of I don't want to start like a fear campaign where things blow out of proportion. You are 100% right. It's hard. People deal with it different, but generally speaking, it brings you down. Right? The two things that happen is when you're in pain, you're usually tired, you're grumpy, it saps your energy. You're just dealing with pain all day, day in, day out pain. So of course it affects your livelihood, it affects your work, it affects everything, it affects your sleep. And fear makes you make bad decisions. When you have fear, when you're scared of something, it's just going to pull you stop doing it. So the two things that I want to touch on is that what you said before about the way you felt, the depression thing. I found that when you explain something to me, we're talking about how we discussed the problem, we went to the rehab the problem. A lot of times, I reckon, and this is how I feel. This is not. I'm not speaking for my colleagues, but I reckon if you sat down with someone with an injury on the first session and you didn't put your hands on them, you just talk to them, you explain to them what's happening, you tell them what's going to happen, you tell them how they're going to fix it, right? I think immediately they will feel better with no physical contact, because it's really like that moment where you go, oh, okay, it's not as bad as I thought, or okay, I have a plan now, I know what I'm going to be doing, I have a time frame. That helps a lot, right? And so what you explain to people, how you frame things to people is very, very important. You know, if I grab a scan and I go, ooh, oh no, you know, that's really bad. Straight away you're gonna go, oh, crap, what is it? Right? So there is a way of framing things. And the second thing is as well, you know, that whole pain thing, people being pain, being tired, it affects the whole way. So the idea, the mantra of mine of keep training, for two things, it keeps you normalized, right? You like training, you have emotional release when you train, it's something that you do every single day, it's your routine. Don't stop training, right? You have to modify. I never, unless it's something completely severely not you're going to be able to work around, you should always train. Deload, back off, change this, include that, always train through. Mentally it's important, and also for the muscles it's important. From a mechanical point of view, when you stop training, I generally find that people get worse because they lose muscle, right? They're little, the neuro side of things, where things are moving and clicking over, that stops too, because you're just sitting down watching Netflix, you're just letting it heal. It takes too long, right? So the training, I found that when I've empowered people to train through injuries and just manage things differently, not only is their recovery time halved, it's a lot better, it's a lot easier, but they don't lose much, right? And that goes for surgeries too. Someone that's going to go for surgery in 2 months, I say, yo, just train. Go for the next 2 months, train. Work around with your injury. Keep your muscles as active as they can, and your recovery post-surgery is going to be really good. So I've always believed that. It's something that I try and put into all the practitioners that work. Keep them moving, keep them going, and that'll build that trust between you and them anyway.
Yeah, because one of the things that you touched earlier was that the humbling process of is that you'll figure out there are certain things that you didn't pay attention to and you can work on. And, you know, if you're using me as an example, that was one of the things. I was like, holy crap, like I could get this stronger, and then by getting it stronger, it's less prone to injury. And then it's a whole nother, you go down the rabbit hole of understanding compound strength, foundation strength, building muscles and all that.
It's a scary rabbit hole with everything. The more you know, the less you know. You just keep digging deeper.
And then it was like, oh, you know, and because, you know, I don't think people have that unless you go looking for it, or you're in that industry, you know someone, don't know much about it. Like my cousin, obviously, he's a weightlifter and has his own gym. And I remember one day I was on his podcast and he told me, it's like, I tell people like having strength is so important, because if you don't have it, you could potentially die. And he said it to me so blunt, and I was just like, I never thought about it that way.
You're like, hold on a second.
Wait. You know, but I understood what he was saying, because it's just important having a good foundation of strength. What got you into this, man? Was it something that you were interested in? Is it something that, you know, just because I remember one of the first things, you know, you said to me is like, I don't like to call myself a physio chiro or anything. You just,
because I get called every now and then. I'm a chiropractor, right? So I did my degree, then I went into my sports side of things. The way I got into it, so I used to play high level soccer for a long time, and I didn't have the information I have now. So I was the exact patient that I treat too, the young guy, the 14, 15-year-old that has natural talent, has natural physique to play sport, and I used to be the type of kid that could play any sport. You know, throw me a ball, I catch it, kick the ball, whatever it is. So I was naturally gifted at sports. Soccer was my sport, and I played that for many years. And so as I started getting up higher and higher and higher, obviously the competition went up, and the differences between players got less and less and less and less, right? Into the skill, into the strength. And so I used to go, I remember in year 10, I used to go to Fitness First at Castle Hill after school, have no program, right? Just pick the machines that I wanted to use. Yeah, I'll do some shoulder strength, I'll do some abs, I'll do some legs, right? Not following anything. There's no reps, whatever, right? Whatever looks cool on the beach, right?
What part of
that guy looks pretty good, I'll do what he's doing, right? No functional training whatsoever, right? Some things maybe probably helped, maybe leg press, whatever, but nothing really sports related, right? And so you can see that, you know, I wasn't building myself up to be the best athlete that I could, right? And not having the knowledge I have now, you just take it with this. Interestingly, I remember back then, I was at my fittest. I was at, you know, I had muscles on muscles, I was fast. I could never touch my toes. I just thought, oh, tight hamstrings. Oof, I've got to stretch them out, I should do it, right? Never really understood anything about why I couldn't do it. So to answer your question, I'm going a long way about it, is that obviously performance isn't healthy. Performing, you're pushing your body to that red line constantly, right? You want to be the best. You're not casual now. You're trying to be a professional. You're pushing. And performance isn't healthy, so things are going to click and clack and break and stuff like that. Especially when you don't have the foundational strength to play the sport, especially when you have the support network of physios, chiros, and the medical team, in a professional environment saying, hey man, do this, do that, whatever. So I got injured quite a little bit of times, nothing too seriously. Knock on wood, my worst injury was a hamstring tear, right? And that kept me silent for a while. Once again, pulled me back. Now I saw the physios. I had the group physios that I saw, and I had a chiro down the road that my dad used to go to, right? And one day I went with my dad. I wasn't actually having an appointment, but I was there. I was watching my dad get treated. I thought that was pretty cool. Like that's very different to the physio, right? And so I got treated by the chiro. I got treated by the chiro was a lot more hands on, and the physio was more hands off. And I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. The physio did a bit of massage, but it was mainly like ultrasound. They put like the TENS machines. They were showing me a lot of rehab stuff, trampoline, this and stuff like that. And I enjoyed that a lot because I could feel myself getting stronger, my balance getting better. But I kind of felt like someone had to get into some areas and loosen them up. And so when the chiro did some moves to my hip where it stretched my back out, I felt real good. I was like, okay, there's got to be something here. So I used them both, right? I used to get them talking to each other, but I used them both. That's fine. So then when I was sort of towards the pivoting point for me was that I was, as a young guy, I thought I'm going to be a professional soccer player. That's what I'm going to do for a living, right? And of course, the odds of you becoming professional is quite low, but I pushed and pushed and pushed. I got to a point where I got the highest point of my career and I didn't get chosen for the selection, right? And that's when I went, okay, well, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I can't. Didn't have the tools to deal with that sort of rejection at the time. So I thought, in that case, what would be my next best thing? What would make me happy? And I realized that being involved in the sport, but not as the athlete, maybe the support network would be kind of cool because I get to travel with the guys, I get to enjoy the wins, I get to do this and that. So then I started looking at physio and chiro. I was a fairly good student, but I wasn't an A++ student. So getting into physiotherapy is going to be very, very hard. So initially my plan was, let me start 1 year of chiro, see if I like it, see if I get good grades, and then maybe transfer over to physio. But I liked it. I really did like it. And then when I started getting more into it and started learning more on, I started going, okay, what's the difference? Like really, what's the difference between physio and chiro? How can I get a little nice mix of that and this? And I found that if I can get all the manual therapy techniques from chiro, I found that if you do a sports chiro degree after, it'll introduce things like dry needling, it'll do a lot more soft tissue based things, a lot of the tool assisted stuff, a lot more rehab. And I thought, okay, that's the blend there. Like that's the blend. I want to be hands on. I want to have some tools that I can dig in there and move some things. And I want to have access to a gym to rehab. Like that's how I felt it worked for me, and that's the mantra that I've had from them on. So that's what kind of pushed me into that. It was the own failures in my own sport, and knowing that I had obviously potholes to fill. I didn't have the people to help me fill those potholes until I met the physio and chiro. But dealing with two professionals was harder. I wish there was just one. And that's what I wanted to be. Let me be the one. Let me try and help bridge the gap. Having said that, I work with physios. I work with other chiros. It's all good, right? There's no this and that. They're perfectly good in their own ways. And what you'd find, which I find interesting, is that as you go up the echelons of like sports chiro, sports physio, I've challenged someone to go see a sports chiro without knowing who they are and a sports physio. There'd be a lot of similarities between what they do. Some of the physios are very good at hands-on mobility stuff. You wouldn't know. You think, oh, geez, that was a chiro move. I'm not sure if that was a physio move, right? So I think it's incorrect to sort of label them as different. But when it gets to the sport, it's got to be about the patient athlete. Full stop, right? If you're not doing stuff that's getting them off the bed, you're wasting time. Full stop, right? That's just how that's the truth.
I mean, I've noticed. I mean, I've been to a physio, and then I came to you, and I noticed. I mean, now that you mention about the hands-on. I mean, for those that haven't had the pleasure of going and actually, going to Andre and actually getting him working on you, it's painful, but you feel $1 million afterwards. But yeah, I noticed that. I mean, I noticed like even just, man, it was just such a shock to me that one could feel like that. Like especially like say, your hips and your hammies and the one thing I remember you mentioned about lower back pains was it's not so much your lower back, sometimes it's tight hamstrings that trigger your lower back. This is this is like some next level shit. Like unless like I said, unless you're going out and doing research, like you don't think like that. Well, because you're just going to pain. Where's my pain? Lower back. It must be the lower back. You know what I mean? Then when I understood it's my hamstring and then tight hamstrings or whatnot and start working on that and stretching and making sure that you target that area, like, oh, I don't feel that anymore. But you genuinely feel confident. Like I felt so confident. I felt like everything, I felt connected to my whole body. And that was one of the things I complained to.
Put this on Google, man.
Yeah. It's gonna be on YouTube, baby.
That's what.
But you know what I mean? Like I felt that's honest truth, and that's why I was just like, man, I've never felt like that ever in my life, and I know that I had been carrying this on for so long, but I just trained myself to think it was normal, and this is just something that I have to deal with, and it's just going to be adversity that I've got to deal with every single time. But then how I felt after post was just unbelievable, and it was not so much how good I felt around the hip flexes and whatnot. It's just how I felt mentally.
That's awesome.
And then it was something I was preaching a lot of people. I was like, man, like these things affect your mind, your body, like how you are as a person, like, and it was just ridiculous, man. But
it's nice to hear that. Yeah. That makes me very proud. No. That is the game for me, though.
Yeah.
And having you say that, sort of almost it affirms what I believe in.
Yeah,
right? Which is awesome. And the thing is, you said that like you felt fantastic, unbelievable. Yeah. The way I see it is, that's your normal.
That's how.
That's your standard, bro.
Yeah.
Like most of us are living in this depressed / inferior state because of just tight neck, whatever. And the problem is, I had a mate of mine tell me this. I don't know where he heard it from, but he said to me, like, people won't change unless the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing. So something like, what was I say? Meaning, if you're kind of comfortable, if your pain's not annoying enough to make an active decision about it, you will leave it. You go,
to deal with it. Exactly.
I'm a bit tired, I'll get a massage later or whatever. It's not. So, the ones that are kind of, I guess, they open their eyes to that idea, right? Once you take them to that neutral stance, like, hey, this is how I should be feeling every day. Then mine goes, crazy.
Instantly.
But it's not hard to maintain. It wasn't hard, right?
No.
It's just, and this is the thing about the position. I actually reckon you're just fitting the right key in the right lock. Whatever you need, this is the right key. Put in that lock, it's going to open up for you, and you're going to feel much better. And then obviously you having that experience, I think the reason why it's so important to me as a practitioner is that you get it now. Like, you understand it now. I don't have to sit here and go, come on, man, do this. You get it now. So, knock on wood, if something ever happened in the future and you got injured again, you get it already, right? So for you, be like, hey, man, you know what to do. Here's the things, blah, 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 and you don't think do it. Like, it's usually it's a one churn.
Because I think once you know how it can feel like, and like you said, this is how your neutral state should feel like, you're like, man, I want to feel like this all the time. And and especially, I guess, taking away, especially if you look at, say, athletes or someone who's looking to perform, for them that's like no brainer for them, because it's like, dude, like, I have to feel like, what I mean? That's what I tell them, like, dude, you think you're relaxed, there's another level of relax, because you just don't know that you got tension built up, or there's tight muscles, or whatever it is, little things that are nitpicking you and affecting the way you're moving every day and whatnot. But the second you can feel like almost I guess optimum, it's ridiculous. It's like, man, this has just been affecting,
it's addicting,
everything I've been doing, and what's it like working with like high level athletes, man? And look at, I guess, go from it from a whole point of view, from just I guess personalities to just the each person, I guess, brings a different challenge, right? And then that obviously adds on to the pressure of you having to perform and providing what they need. Because obviously I know certain high level athletes that come to you, so that always interested me as to each one is different, size, body shape, sport, personality,
100%.
What they're willing to do. And
so the first thing when you deal with guys that are that high, it's a career for them, you can't have a bad day. Full stop. You just cannot. If you're having a bad day at home, if you're whatever, you come to work, you gotta be on. Right, so those guys, they will elicit a lot of your brain power. You have to be on, because they just need that extra level of attention. Most of them got to that point because they're naturally gifted and they're smart and they work pretty bloody hard, right? So your job with them is that, this is how I felt, there's a lot of cooks already in the kitchen there for them. They've already got a lot of information, a lot of team around them, right? You're just another piece of that team. You can't take over. You can't say, no, don't do it. You got to say, okay, what have we got so far? Bring it up. So I think the bottom line is there's a plan already ahead of you, right, with these guys. You have to then sit down and say, okay, with my expertise, what do I provide? What do I do? I don't want to step anyone's toes. I want to co-manage with this. I want to improve with that. This is what I'm going to do. Bang, 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 bang. And if you're very clear at the front about what you're going to do and what you're going to help them with, at least that way, there's no problems all the way. Personalities is a good one, because Some of the guys there, like I've treated some big guys, and they love that pain. Get in there, rip in there, and you have to be like, okay, I get it, but let's not get carried away too, right? This is not a torture session. We've got to get you better. And some guys are like, they put their headphones on, they're zen, they're quiet, they go and meditate. I don't know where they are, and it feels like I'm treating alone. They've left their body, they're meditating, they're gone. And I'm like, okay, cool, and I'll just work there. And it's quite funny. One of the sessions, I think, went for an hour. We had a ton of work to do. We had a fight coming up. We sat quietly in the room for an hour. I even dimmed the lights a bit, right? He was gone. He had music on, he was gone. So I just spent the whole time and I was just kind of assessing, working, and in the hour went like that, right? And he got up and goes, man, thanks so much. He walked out. It was the most zen session I've ever had. It wasn't, I was going hard on some things. I was dry needling this, I was pulling that. He was just chill, right? But most of the guys, it's a lot of fun. Like the bottom line, it is a lot of fun because it's a really one of those moments where you treat someone, you get to know them personally, you get to see what they're like, and then you see them on TV and you kind of go like, man, like, that guy's cool. Like, he worked hard. Like I know the work he puts in behind the scenes. Like I've seen it firsthand, what he's willing to do to be that guy on the TV, right? So it's very cool. It's very, very cool, and there is a bit of pressure, but completely outweighed by that.
That's beautiful pressure though. I mean, at the end of the day, you want people walking and being like, Andre, I need your help, man. And for you, it's like, dude, I wanna help you. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of it all.
Put me on, coach. I mean, I want to help out.
What are some of the big hurdles that you've had to, in terms of injuries, in terms of things that you've had to, with rehab, without going into, too much detail about people, but.
So personally or with clients?
No, with clients. What are some of the challenges that?
There's obviously.
And a part 2 question, but from there, I want to also know, what are some of the common injuries that you've dealt with? Because that was something that I had in my head ever since I knew you were coming on, just to gauge into some of the common injuries. But part 1 being some of the hurdles that you've had to overcome. You can put it in whatever way, whether it's timeline, you had a timeline of the fights coming here or they're playing here, and as to what kind of injuries there were, and just go into a bit of a depth.
Okay, so we're talking purely athletes here, or
purely athletes,
okay.
or
I'll give one of each.
Go one of each, man.
So I had this particular athlete come in. He had a fight in exactly 11 days, and during his last sort of sparring, copped a big punch to the rib, right, and it was pretty tender. Not a bad enough injury that it's like, you're going to pull out of this big thing, but annoying enough. Every time he reaches for that punch, if you got kicked there, if there's a grapple, it's pretty painful, right? So the challenge with that was, okay, well, he was, luckily for me, he's a very intelligent guy, very calm, cool, collected, so he wasn't panicking. He was very upfront about it. So treating very gently, sort of, introducing that sort of cryotherapy, heat, cold, massaging, loosening up the area, spring as best we can, and just improving mechanically and the inflammation here as much as we could. Now, I knew for a fact that 11 days was impossible. Too short, impossible.
Yeah.
So the conversation was, let's get you to that finish line as comfortably as humanly possible. Let's not draw the fact that it's injured. Let's not put any strapping tape or any big X over the mark spots. So you're going to just be as normal as possible. And it got to a point where we made a decision after 3 sessions. The sessions were pretty close together that he obviously couldn't back off training because it was 11 days out. So we're just modifying things. Still pretty tender, right? I think at that particular stage we ended up getting a cortisone shot, and that could have helped sort of loosen up a bit more. And I just said to him, man, look, that's going to numb it enough for you to get through your fight. Have a break after the fight. We'll deal with whatever's left over the fight, right? And that's exactly what happened. He came away with a win. So that was a challenge that I had to actually recruit someone else to help me with, right? I had to stand to a sports doc and say, yo, sort him out, take the pain off a little bit, let him get through this fight, and we'll rehab it afterwards. Afterwards, it's breathing stuff, loosening stuff, rotate. It was beautiful, right? But 11 days out, no time, zero time.
Do you ever worry that, or do you ever feel like you've had to make, or in your head you're like, man, you shouldn't be doing this, or is it more the fact that this is what I need your help, I gotta fight 11 days and I just need you to help me, and your job is, okay, this is what I know and this is what I gotta do, and like you said earlier, it's totally up to how you're feeling. You gotta tell me if you're feeling, ultimately you gotta make the biggest choice. But I would dare say you'd see certain things in your head through experience, be like, fuck, you shouldn't be doing this, you know what I mean?
And that's the thing, right? I sometimes struggle, I don't know if it's a good thing or bad, but I struggle to separate the emotional side of things.
Yeah. Because you never want to send someone out knowing in your head, I could have told him, or I should, You're
a patient, you know how open I am, right? I treat all my patients and sort of, I have that emotional connection with them anyway. I care about them, so I want them to do well. Some things, unless it's absolutely, I know it's not going to happen, I'll just look in the eye and say, dude, it's just not going to happen for
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Okay, so we've done that once or twice. It sucks
yeah.
terribly, right?
Yeah.
One of them happened fairly recently. A lot of work went up in leading this particular fight, and where was it? 6 days before the fight, massive injury, a non-repairable injury, had to get surgery, right? So sitting down with someone that's worked so bloody hard and had so much riding on that to look at them and say, dude, can't fix this thing. I can't needle it, I can't numb it, I can't do nothing, you can't do anything with this arm, right? So that made it a little bit of a challenge, but it brought us closer anyway, because you go through that grieving stage like I explained to you before, it sucks and you have to, but you come back stronger, and they normally do anyway. But like I said, was going back for the emotional side of things, is that, these decisions that I make is purely based on data, right?
Yeah.
Based on what I know. And if I don't know, I'm not gonna make a call. I'll just send it somewhere else. Say, hey, get more information, come back. Scans, tests, whatever it is. But the emotional side of me, the athletic side of me, my previous life as an athlete part of me, play, go, do it, get out there. You gotta do it. Come on, push, right? But at the end of the day, you gotta draw the line. Say, if you're on this line, we can work with it. If you cross that line, let's be smart. You got a whole career ahead of you. For one little game or one little fight, you're really gonna risk causing further damage and possibly, changing the scope of your career. Let's just smart about it. So those decisions, they're hard to make, but I think later on, they always hate the decision, but later on they'll appreciate it. You'll get a text maybe a month later. Hey man, I'm happy I did this. I feel better with this. I'll get back to this, and it happens, man. And with the everyday patients, like with them, it's a little bit more different because they don't have so much pressure riding on things. But you see some of the injuries, and you just say to them, look, I know you want to, weekend warrior, I know you want to play the grand final this weekend, but sometimes you have to say, you're not getting paid for this, right? This is just a fun thing. Don't forget why you're there. You enjoy the sport. That knee's going to need an operation. Like, don't play on it. Don't do it. It's going to get worse, right? But you know me. Any opportunity I can get someone out the door doing something,
ultimately your goal is to send it out packing, ready to do whatever it is.
Having said all that, there was one particular patient that a dancer. She damaged her knee. She actually got MRIs. Went to an orthopedic surgeon, and the surgeon said to her, "Hey, you got one more dance this year. It's already stuffed anyway. Strap it up. Go to the physio. He'll sort it out for you. Get it done. You'll have the surgery the week after anyway." Precisely what she did. Strapped it up, painkillers, gave it a good whack, and then got operated the week after. So sometimes you can of course, that's not my decision. I'll leave that with the big boys. But I thought that was kind of cool, that the fact that he said, "Hey, I'm going to open your knee up next week anyway. You got one more left. Might as well go do it. Do the best you can." And that was what happened. So that was kind of cool.
It's good. I mean, it's good that you get that kind of, honest feedback as well. And I think when you're going into, say, for example, if you take that particular person, they probably felt good going into surgery knowing that they got to go to their last dance or whatever it is and got to kind of get through that. I mean, no one ever wants to get surgery or whatnot, but something as small as that gesture, whereas hey, you can give the confidence to go and do it and then go through the surgery.
To me, what that tells to me is that because obviously sometimes those type of doctors they sometimes get labelled incorrectly, that they have no bedside manner, right? Which I think is incorrect. I think it's a bit unfair. But by them allowing her to do that was just kind of like, hey, I care about you. I care about the fact that you like your sport. I'm gonna operate you next week anyway. Why would I make you miss it? It's already damaged, right? It's not gonna get any worse. I've checked it. So his opinion was of that. I respect him for that. I was like, that's cool. All right, this guy gets it. He's looking after her mental health and her, I guess, the sporting life. She did it. She was happy. Clearly happy. And you know yourself mentally when you go into an injury or outside of an injury, your mental status has a huge impact on how you recover.
You're in a vulnerable state.
That little decision he made might have seemed like a little. For her, it might be like, oh, cool. He's left. But after, she might have just gone like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's go. I'm ready now. And that would have helped, right? That would have been really, really cool.
And even just the threshold of what you can handle would have just gone up automatically just on that.
For sure.
Just by allowing her to go.
She was hungry for it, right? Let's get back. I'm cool. So little things like that on the way. Back a couple conversations ago, we were having, you talking about pain, how your mind was blown, that we're talking about back pain. Where it's like, there is a quote, Carl Lewis, this rehab guy, he says that if you focus on the side of pain where you have the problem, oftentimes you're lost, like you're not really fixing the problem. You might band-aid it, you might massage it over the top, or a car, you might adjust that area. It'll give you temporarily, right? You'll go home and you go, oh, hey, next week you're back again. At some point you're gonna go, yo, what am I doing, right? their team, right? So I always, it's and hopefully, the fact that you said it to me today made me very proud. But hopefully, the patients that leave the practice, especially the guys we have there, I want them leaving there knowing what's wrong with them. Right? Yeah, your back's sore, but have you seen your hips? Have you seen these muscles not working? Have you seen that? So they understand, they get it, right? And so they don't focus a lot on that pain model, right? I hate asking pain questions. It's important because I've got to write down numbers and scores, but I don't want to focus on pain. Let's talk about function, right? Let's talk about dysfunction. Let's talk about how you're moving, how you're not moving. Because the moment you talk about pain, your pain threshold is way better than mine, right? My 9 could be your 6. Am I supposed to then go, okay, well, geez, I'm going to try and fix your 6 or your 9?
That's true as well, because that's so true, because the pain threshold, the mark might be different all across the board. So essentially it could be the same issue, but if someone's not hurting as much as the other, then it's like, no, I'm all right. Like, you know what I mean? But really, they got the same problem.
I've got these 2 MRIs in my desk, right? And I pull them out to prove a point. I've deleted all the patient details. I've asked the permission, but I've got this cut out MRIs. It's just a picture, right? And I sometimes prove a point to some of my patients. And some people are in pain, like chronically. They're in pain all the time. Now, right now, I'll sit here and I'll say, okay, well, if I have to rate my pain, I'm at 0. Like, I don't really feel sore anywhere, right? But some people sitting here in this conversation, they're at 4. They're just chronically in pain from something. So to ask them a pain scale, it's like, okay, well, dude, 4 for them is a 0 for me. But if they're a 9, that means they're a 5 for me. You know what I mean? The pain gets messy. And what I show them is MRIs, obviously one of the major things, we'll talk about common injuries, we'll come back to that, is like a disc bulge in the back, right? Or some herniation or some back issue. Some of my patients that come in hobbling in, right? Tears in their eyes. Andre, help me, my back. I haven't felt this. I'm a 10 out of 10. You pull out the MRIs and you look, tiny little disc bulge, right? Annular tear, something very small. But the result of that, for them, massive. They can hardly walk, right? The symptoms, I'm not saying they're lying, the symptoms are there. They got pins and needles, they got pain, they can't walk. But the MRI, if someone sent me that without seeing the patient, I'd go, oh, okay, well, it's there. There was another dude that came in, this big lumberjack, huge, strong dude. He had a disc bulge the size of your microphone. And I go, oh, back's a bit stiff. And I'm like, no pain? No. Any numbness? Nothing. I'm like, okay, are you sure this is yours? Like, it was a huge disc bulge. So it is very personal, and each condition is very, very different. And even if the 10 people in this room all have disc bulges, we'd all have different symptoms. Right? So it's a very personal thing, and that's why focusing on pain, where your pain is, how much pain did you have, it's important from a monitoring, a measuring tool. It doesn't mean anything though. It shouldn't.
But I mean, even just the mechanics of your body. I mean, another thing that you educated me on was just the fascia of your body, and just how sometimes your right hand side is connected to your left hand. So sometimes, when you do sort of stretch, you stretch your back. Sometimes you're alleviating pressure from, like, say, your knee or something like that. And it was just, and you do feel that. Then when you do, say, you stretch your back or your lower back, instantly you feel better. Or like, for example, if you take the psoas or the lower back injury, the tight hamstrings, you loosen up your hamstrings and hips, and automatically you just like, you feel better all the way up to your top of your body. So it's like crazy. It's true. Like, it's hard to pinpoint it just on pain, because you just got to. I think everyone's mechanics. You might have the same injury, but like you said, the pain threshold from, say, 1 to 10 might be different all across the board. But it doesn't mean that it's all the same injuries or the same kind of issues that you feel. But
for that fascia stuff, I'll send you a link so you can put it on there.
For sure.
There's a movement pattern links, and it's a book that talks about movement and how fascia and muscles all integrate with each other. And it's one of those things that biomechanics is quite challenging, because it's biomechanics. It's hard. You got to look at how when this moves, what happens over here, and what pulls it. So it's a bit complicated. But when they put it into simple terms of how certain areas of the body can have effect on the others, right? It's not as complicated, right? And the cool thing is, just like a hairdresser will look at people's hair and judge, silently, like, oh yeah, that haircut's that way. Like, I look at people walking sometimes, and I sometimes play a game where I go, bad knee, bad right shoulder, tight this side. Like, I just try diagnose them, right? Just as they walk past. And I remember one time we had a bit of a laugh. I was at the beach. I was in Europe with my wife. We just got married. We went away, and there was this particular girl running on the beach, right? And I remember I was looking looking, I was really focused. I'm just staring, watching, and my wife goes, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, oh no, I think she's got a bad knee. I'm just like, so she's here going like, what are you doing staring? I'm like, no, I'm like, legit. No. She reckons it's all false, but I legitimately was all like, bad knee, like she probably got tight on back. But it's funny, you start noticing these patterns, and
you should start a little fucking mobile hut in the beach, right?
Everyone, like,
in the local newspapers, right? This guy's starting a fucking health clinic in the beach. Oh, that's crazy.
But it's movement patterns. They're kind of cool, man, and that's why
it's interesting, man. Like it's interesting for someone like me, and I think there's so much general information in all of that for anybody to just know. You don't have to be an athlete or whatever. I just think that when you understand your body, you understand how it moves and the mechanics, and you don't have to know it into too much detail, but just have a brief understanding of it. Man, it's just you know, like I just tell people, if you're tired, a long day or whatever, and you think you'll just, man, stretch it out, or you know, do little things, just, you know, lubricate it, get it moving.
Absolutely.
You'll instantly feel better. Like it's funny. I was telling Manisha, my wife, the other day, I was like, man, look, I was stretching out, and I loosened up my body, and instantly I just felt tired and sleepy. Yeah, right. I was just like, I felt like crashing out, like I fucking slept like a baby, man. And I was just like, you know, all that time, you just, you know, you're chilling, and if you're watching Netflix or whatever it is, and you're up, or you're like, man, you know, you're not going to sleep, or you are going to sleep, but you just feel different. Like, you know, you're like, yeah, I'm just, you know, it's late, I gotta go to sleep.
Yeah.
But then, like, when you're really relaxed, in a relaxed state of mind, man, your body just, because it's just, everything you've done in the day or the week's built up.
Yeah.
But the moment that you counterattack it by recovery or whatever it is, it's just like, I'm ready to shut my system down. Like, and I instantly just started yawning, and I felt tired, and I was just like, tired in the sense of just like relaxed, man. Like, you know, and I was like, man, I'm just going to sleep.
It's hard to achieve that. But you can get it though. I struggle sometimes to wind down. But you know what you described there is something very similar to like the bucket theory, right? The bucket theory you talk about is, imagine a bucket, different levels of water, right? You know, you add sport, you put more water in. You add stress from work, more water in. Financial pressure, you just keep adding water in. That bucket overflows, man. Injury, whatever it is, mental health, whatever it is. So if you can let some water out the bucket once in a while, right, and keep that bucket from not overflowing, that's your status of just keeping everything moving mentally, physically. And when you're able to get to that state that you're talking about, where you stretched out, you actually had some downtime, maybe did some breathing rehab, whatever it might have been, instead of you going like busy work, watching Netflix, sleep, right, that crash, you were able to just very gently caress yourself into that point where you're like, okay, I can actually relax now. Your breathing probably went to a nice pattern, relax, and then that's how it should be. Hard to achieve. That's how it should be. I can't sit here and say I do it because it's hard sometimes. But it's so, once you get it, run with it.
And that's the thing. It's not something that, you know, it's not something that I do it as often, but there are days where I'm just like, I know by just feeling my body and just the state of mind I'm in, I'll just look at it, I'll be like, man, I'm gonna go stretch down for a bit. Because I just know that if I stretch and, you know, these little muscles, like, that's the thing, like once I've been through what I've been through in my head, I'll always know that worst comes to worst, I'm just gonna go stretch out, loosen my body, and I'll at least feel better. You know, so I'll always revert to that. And there's some days where I know that I'll, like, even it could be late at night and, you know, watching something, I'll be like, nah, I'm gonna go stretch down and then come back to bed, because it just instantly feels better. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
And
most of us should be doing more of that.
Yeah, like that's the thing. I mean, like I said, I don't do it as often, but I do it enough when I kind of listen to my body and I know that, okay, I'm either going to sit here and put up with just being uncomfortable, knowing that I got my shoulders are a bit tight or whatever, and just, you know, deal with this shit and hope
and then call on you tomorrow.
Exactly. Or I know I can go fix it, or at least alleviate the pressure a little bit, make me feel better, and just go do it. You know what I mean? But it's just that whole process of having to sit down, give time to go do it. It's not. It's
funny you say that, right? Because like the way I see it is like, if I get home and there's a really good TV show that I want to watch, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to sit and watch it, right? But then somehow I need to go, if I'm going to foam roll or use my massage gun, I have to go, okay, I'm going to... Why is it like that? Why are we like that? We're wired that way. We're like, I'm going to stretch now. It should be like the other way around.
You don't want to be there. You don't want to be there. Like, you don't want to be doing this stuff. You don't want to be there. And in your head, thinking, fuck, hurry up.
And you roll 20 times. It's hard. So
you're trying to achieve it. That's what I say. It's like anything. It's like getting fit versus being lazy.
Absolutely.
Easy to be lazy, hard to get fit.
100%.
But, you know what
get the benefit, right?
Yeah, you get the benefit.
That's the thing. That's why most people don't do it. The way I find it is active-based therapies are always going to be better than passive. So the fact that you're up and about doing it yourself is always going to be better than sitting on the bed and getting some massage, right? You know your body. You know where you're tight. You can kind of work through things. But that process of you doing those things, it's practice anyway, right? What I tell my patients is like, one of the biggest complaints that most physios or chiros will say is that my patients, they're not following through their rehab stuff. I give them stuff to do, they don't do it. It's a compliance issue, right? I've kind of changed the way I do things with patients because I find that if I write on a piece of paper, hey, you got to do 20 of these, 10 of these, blah, blah, half the time they'll do half the numbers, or they'll fold up the piece of paper and go, cool, I'm going to do this, and they'll put it away, it's gone, right? And when they come in, they have that sheepish look and they go, oh, yeah, nah, I didn't really do it. That's okay, right? I'm not going to sit there and scorn them and say, yeah. But the problem is, you either have to be the type of person that you do it at the gym, because you already, that idea of, let me get up and do it, you've already done that to the gym. You're already there, right? So before you come home, before you get in the car and get comfortable again, do it there, right? You're already there, you're already moving, you're already happy, you're doing it. And have it in the front of your mind, because it is practice. If you have a foam roller or some bands or whatever, don't put it away in the cupboard and close the door. It's out of sight, out of mind. Keep it next to the TV. So that when you're sitting there, you're having a cup of coffee, you go, I've got to roll.
Which is basically what I did.
We don't. No one wants to do it. It's boring.
It is boring.
But if you do it though, you get the results.
That's the thing. It's the benefit. So it's the flip side. It's like, okay, you go through it, but then you're not going through it for nothing. You know what I mean? You're going, So going back to the part 2 question, what are some of the common injuries or most common injuries?
Okay, so the most common, obviously, I think also this comes to public perception, but as a chiro, obviously people come to me for spinal stuff, right? A lot of my patients think that chiros only do spine, right? So when you say, knee, hip, ankle, they kind of go like, you do ankles and knees and shoulders. So anyway, so a lot of lower back, a lot of knee, right?
Why is that, you reckon?
I think it is a lifestyle thing too, right?
So just from every day.
With my practice, with my particular patients, me being a sports chiro, I have to say probably 70-80% of my patients do some form of training, right? Whether they're elite or just they're training. So they are active people, right? I've got 30% that are more office based, which is fine too. So a lot of the injuries are lower back. I could probably split it into 2 ways. One, it's the people that are training, but like me, didn't have the foundation. So they're training CrossFit or they're doing some sort of conditioning, and they're obviously progressing through the ranks there. And of course, with any training program, you want to go heavier, you want to be stronger. That's natural. But because they don't have the foundation, they'll hit a wall. And when they go a little bit too much, boom, something gives, back goes out. And so that for them, you assess their muscle dysfunction, their muscle imbalances, and say, okay, no problem. You're gonna go back to training, take 3 steps this way, build these things up first, and then build up again, right? And the other population with lower back is what you mentioned before. They sit a lot on the computers, their hamstrings shorten, right? Because they're sitting in that position. A lot of the strength for certain muscles aren't there, and so you're literally loading up some parts in your back consistently throughout the day, and then you're expected to go home and look after your kids or go home and feed the dog. You're doing those loads, and after a while, for them, it's like a slow burn. It's not something that happens overnight for them. It's just like a slow burn that gets tighter and stiffer, and this and this and this, and then something very little, very silly happens, right? Where they went to sneeze, or they went to go and pick something up, and boom, the back goes, right? And they come in and go, Andre, I don't understand. I literally just went to put the piece of paper down. Andre, I leant over to scratch my knee, my back went. That wasn't what was it. It's 12 months before that, right? It's all the load leading to this point that led to this point, right? With the athletes, it's mainly hey, I actually felt it. I was there lifting, it was instant, boom, here it is, grabbed, and my back felt this way. So they're much more mechanical based. And so those are the 2 main ones for lower back. You usually have the functional ones and the mechanical ones. And the neck is, look at us on the phones, TV, position, slouch, the way we are. It's just natural. It's just natural, man. There's a lot of stuff on the media about text neck, and it's like, I don't know how I feel about it. That could be a bit sensitive. Like they kind of push it a bit too hard. That one, I don't think it's, unless you're texting all day, every day. Like
there's always a big
there's always something, right? But it's kind of true in a way. We are very anterior creatures. We drive, we type, everything we do is in front of us. And so what happens is the anterior muscle groups get quite strong and quite sort of, the neural connections to those muscles get quite sort of thick. So we use them a lot. The dexterity is good. The posterior muscles aren't really there, right? So what happens is our breathing becomes very superior. We're not using our diaphragm. So everything's going up and forward to the point where we put heaps of pressure on necks. We get headaches, we get so they come in and say, Andre, I woke up this morning, I can't actually turn. They turn their whole body. I can't change lanes in the car. And you just unpack those muscles. Of course, you deal with the issues. Then you educate them, hey, your breathing's pretty crap. Right? Like most of us don't know how to breathe, including me, right? I can practice. We don't know how to breathe.
No, 100%. I mean, going into that, like I remember going into the boxing fight, and one of our common friends, Rick, teaches me to like qigong and all these breathing and meditation.
Yeah, he's very good.
And so I got into that, and then man, like what you just said, I was like, holy crap! Like man, I was just clicking muscles through my breathing, like awesome. Literally just like, breaking little bits of my body. Like, and just calm breathing, even just with anxiety, I know I've said it in most, like a lot of times lately, but it's just, that was what got me the most, was just how I was able to control anxiety and emotions through just the level of breathing and just listening to your breathing and having a casual flow and, learning how to breathe and like even just lowering your heart rate when you have increased heart rate, which comes with anxiety or whatever, your heart rate sometimes increases. And so the ability to do that. But yeah, man, like that's what I mean. It's all just like, it's very basic fundamentals, but because like you said, our lives and where we are as a society, it's all like, tucked to this side because everything is go,
Results.
And which brings me to my next question in terms of recovery. Number one, your thoughts on recovery and just, I guess, outside of just athletes and whatnot, what are some of the things that I guess you could tell people in terms of recovery? Like, doesn't have to be too specific, but what the importance of it. And I know from your own experiences, not just as you as an athlete, but knowing the process of recovery and what athletes have done, just the importance of it and how to go about it, and the importance of what it is to your day-to-day life.
So the part one, my thoughts of recovery is that it's obviously a largely growing field now, because the thing is, recovery was only sort of for the athletes back in the day, but
and connecting it to the fact that a lot of the patients and a lot of the things we've spoken about is people are just just going hard without thinking that the harder I go, the more output, the better I'm going to be, without knowing that couple of days of recovery, 2 days of recovery in a week of say training every day, your performance is and I guess that's the kind of theme. That's what I'm trying to allude to, and I'm hoping that you kind of can touch on it.
Okay, all right. So, like I said, recovery, it's a growing field. It's something that become more readily available now to the everyday people. Things like exercise physiologists now are common, right? And they do a lot of recovery stuff. For me, I think the number one factor for most people with recovery is probably mental health, right? We talk about physical stuff all the time. That's my job. I don't really deal with mental health, right? It's a scope that I sort of dab into. But for the physical elements, for the issues that they have, it's a lot of your mindset about your injury, your mindset about your recovery and your life has a lot. It probably is the single limiting factor in how you're going to improve, right? If you're down the dumps, if you're tired, if you can't actually see the light, I don't care how well you're exercising, you're not going to get there. 100%. You're just not going to get there. I
agree.
Right? So my idea of recovery is, okay, let's combine the two. If I'm going to go for a swim, let's say I train every single day, right? If I'm going to do an active-based therapy like swimming, or like sitting on a rower, or doing yoga, or Pilates, whatever, that's a non-weight sort of bearing type thing where I'm just kind of deconditioning my joints and moving things around. But mentally, all those things are very relaxing. You sit in a pool, you don't talk in the water. You're sitting there with your own thoughts. You're doing laps, and once again, you're working your breathing, right? So you are sort of lowering down that sort of that mental pressure that you have on everyday stuff. With the everyday people that are pushing, whether you're an athlete or if it's work or it's family, and you're pushing and pushing and pushing, and you want the results, you don't stop. What I try and get those guys to understand is that hard work is really important. I'm a massive fan. I respect everyone that works extremely hard, that push into the limits, right? But you can do more than hard work too. There is another barrier for you to pass through. But for you to pass through those barriers, there are some things that you need to do, right? There's anchor points you need to have anchored. Because I was thinking about this in the car on the way here, and I was kind of hoping we'll touch on the subject that you working person on the planet and you will be successful, I have no doubt. But longevity, right, quality, and that sort of stuff kicks into it. If you're not doing the recovery side of things from a physical and a mental, especially mental side of things, are you going to burn out? You're just going to hit the wall and go, I can't do this anymore, right? Yes, I've achieved success, but I literally don't want to get out of bed tomorrow morning, right? And the second thing as well, we'll link it back now to the sort of the physical realm, is training for a competition or training just to be healthy. That's fine. The active recovery is going to make sure that you can do that for the next 30, 40 years, not just the next 5 years, right? Some of my patients that are in their 60s and 70s have had, grandkids, they're running around with their grandkids. I look at that and I think, I want that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't want to be fit enough for my son. Yeah. I want my son's son to be fit enough. I want to play with him at the park, right? Yeah. So there's with the plethora of information we have and with the ideas that we have with recovery, there's no reason why we can't just make it a lifestyle change and make sure that we can train consistently, right? Not 2 good years, 1 bad year, 5 good years, consistently as part of your life the whole time. And with every push, I've been saying this for a couple of days, I've been looking at it, the more push towards technology, the more push towards things that are easy, Uber Eats, Tesla, self-driving cars, the more things are easier for us, right? It just means that we have to pull back in the opposite direction. Do the recovery things, train, push your body, challenge yourself, right? So there's that yin-yang type of thing that push. Recovery is all about that. It's all about that balance, achieving the balance, being both-sided, right?
Because I think at the same, it's funny because I think especially as athletes, doesn't matter what kind of athlete, doesn't matter if you're male, female, there's this thing called anxiety training, right? Because you're just like, fuck, I need to be at my best. And sometimes it's not always a good thing because if you don't know how to deal with that anxiety, then you end up overtraining or you end up burning yourself out. But when you get a chance to really relax your muscles, allow the blood to flow and be one with yourself and you instantly. I feel like you give your body time to recover, but also to kind of just reflect on what you've been putting it through. And then also you have a clearer vision as to what your goal is. Absolutely. And you're like, man, you know what? Fuck, I'm actually doing all right. You know what I mean? Sure. I'm actually I'm progressing the way I should be progressing. The perspective comes in, and then even just I found like your performance in your sessions and whatnot, right? Going at 70% or whatever it is, you end up achieving so much more than just beating yourself up and then going home and thinking this is how it's meant to be. Like I'm meant to, end of the day, hard work. Fuck, no matter what you do, whether you're competing, hard work is I don't even feel like it should be a conversation. That's what's expected. Absolutely. But I think that especially with the last fight with the boxing where I did a lot more recovery stuff. I just felt like I felt more confident. I felt my ability and what my body could do. And then in terms of the numbers and when you're sprinting and whatnot, your output was just firing on all cylinders. Absolutely. Just from those 2 days of active recovery just allow, and it was it's you're literally on a different bar to someone that might train 6 days a week or whatever it is, going hard every single time. And they might be doing more pad sessions or they might be doing more sparring sessions, all right? And you might be sparring once a week or whatever, but you have a couple of days of recovery, but you'll come in there firing because you feel good, you feel right, you're doing everything you're meant to do. And your sessions, I just felt like your sessions, the quality of your sessions, and I think that's, I'm a big believer in this quality and quantity thing, right? Sure. And I just felt like the quality of the sessions was so much more felt advantageous, and you just felt like, man, I'm really getting a lot out of my sessions here. Not just physically, mentally, learning, knowing, skills, how you're moving and whatnot. And I was like, man, that is so important. And not just to just your performance, but just, like you said, getting up in the morning, going to sleep at night, then when something's coming up, just being like, I know what I'm going to do. I know how to go about it. I know that everything I'm doing is what I should be doing. Just having that conversation with yourself and accepting that everything, because like I said, when you're a competitor, nothing is ever enough. You know what I mean?
You always wonder, am I training hard enough? Is he training more than me? And that's the anxiety, right? And that pads 4 times a day. I'm only doing it once a week, like 100%.
And then then it trickles down, and then it goes into your body and your mind. And if you're not well here, and you're thinking here, then pressure on your neck, pressure.
I'm not gonna go that far, but you almost lose the fight before the fight. Right?
You
just beat yourself up. You think, oh, geez, he's better trained than me. But everything you said there, like that's I think why you and I agree so well, and we get along so well. Is that it's just I agree with everything you said. It makes absolute sense, right? And that's being my personal and my professional sort of observations is that the quality is always better than quantity. Always in anything that we do. Right. The efficiency, which is I think what you're alluding to as well, is that your sessions don't have to be 4 hours long. Right. They can be efficient.
It's such a caveman way of thinking that the more hours you know what I mean? And it's not to say you don't put the hours in. That's what I'm saying. No matter what you do, you know what's waiting for you. You work with professionals. They will set the bar for you. But what I'm trying to say is that just because you go and do 4 hours intense every day, 3 hours every day, the dude that's doing hour and a half getting quality out of sessions and whatnot is going to be skyrocketing past you. It doesn't matter how many hours you're doing, And it's something that I saw, but it's something that I got to learn for myself and experience myself.
And you want to appreciate it till you do that.
And I think that's what it is.
Absolutely.
I think I appreciate it more now because
sure.
I'm like, dude, like you can feel like this, and like there was a sense of confidence that I got just because I felt connected to myself.
Your body felt good.
Yeah, man.
Felt strong.
Like,
felt confident.
And I think ever since then I had this idea that, man, it's not so much about quantity, like you said. It's the quality. It's that. You get a sense of satisfaction from the quantity because you're like, I'm putting in the hours, I'm putting in the work. But then it's almost like eventually sometimes you're just like, man, I'm fucking dragging myself to this shit. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Whereas sometimes you just got to be confident that you're doing the work, but you got to also do the recovery. And the reason I was asking about that is because it's something that I got to experience, and it's something that I know that it's quite, it's growing and it's quite relevant now at a commercial level, right? Because of you got your cryotherapies, and you got flotation tanks, hyperbaric chambers, and then you got your Pilates, yoga, but these things are ancient forms. But man, like I heavily invested in especially like meditation and yoga, which is something I've done, I would say consistent enough for the last couple of years. Like any competitive thing that I had done, like I heavily invest in it because I believe that it's just as important as turning up to training and putting in the work. You know what I mean?
It's almost not worth it. If you're going to do one thing it's almost not worth it.
Not worth it.
You're gambling. You might get on the other side and be fine, but you might not. And you know yourself, you said some mornings you drag yourself out of bed and you think, I can't do this, but I need to do this. And that's fine, right? We talk about hard work. I don't get carried away and say that, quality over quantity, you can't train twice a week and expect to be
that's what I mean. When you do it, when you're doing it, That's why I don't like to get too into, because I'm like, dude, if you want to be a competitor or whatever it is, like whoever your coaches and your team, the bar's set for you. Like what you know what you got to get through. So I hate talking about hard work because if that's not in your head, don't fucking bother doing it at all. You know what I mean? So I don't like to get into that. It's more the fact that this is what's there for you, but what else can I do as a whole? Like not just this, but just how do I connect everything, like rehab, food, nutrition, sleep, everything as a whole.
If you can find, this is the thing, right? We come such a long way with all those things. We're not quite there yet, right? If you look at my business, for example, I feel like I provided a lot of the pieces, but we still lack a lot of pieces, right? I'm still waiting for that one-stop shop. It's going to happen. I think we're very close. I think
in what sense? Like
in one sense, for example, let's say that I was a professional CrossFit athlete, right? Now, CrossFit athletes are fairly individual athletes. I don't think it's this team, but generally speaking, it's an individual sport. You go there, you train well. Imagine if I would like a center that I could train in, that I could get treated in, that I could rehab in, that I could get my food done in, that I could do it, and done properly though, right? There are places out there that have the training facility and the recovery. There are places out there that have the physio and the rehab. There are places that have a foodie type thing attached to a cafe. That's fine. But I'm talking from a high level sort of thing. Because general population, people they can get their own food, they can put their own food. I'm talking about the guys, athletes aren't paid to think, they're just paid to do, right? This is what you're doing today, yes sir. And that's what you do. Don't. For having someone to have that whole thing laid out, right? Professional teams would have all that done. They have their own cooks, their own chefs. But from an individual, like I said, that commercial side of things, it's slowly trickling down. I can't wait. I'm hoping I'm still young enough and fit enough to be able to tap into that. But I'd love to just take everything off my plate and just be told what to do. Have my food done for me. Have my training block done for me. I don't have to ask. My injuries are sorted. Like I would love that. Like, that would be really cool, right? And I think when that happens, watch the quality of athletes come through the ranks. Like get a 14-year-old kid who doesn't really know what he's doing, but surround him with a really good team. His potential will compared to before.
Yeah.
Well, how many athletes have we lost? How many have we lost? How many people that would have been world champions or world class at certain sports fell through the cracks because of poor management? And no fault of anyone. It's just that it wasn't at that grassroots level yet. Right? How many soccer players fall through the cracks because they did an ACL when they were 18 years old, promising, or 15 years old, promising?
Yeah, man, I know a good friend of mine. Hopefully, he watches this, but he's a really, really good friend of mine, and he was when he was 16, 17, playing New South Wales, dubbed for the highest of honours, man. I'm talking the highest of honours. Soccer, he was heading that way. Fucking injury, and then from there, just everything downhill, bro. And never got to,
Such a shame.
me and him, like we fuck around, we fuck around at the park and stuff, and we'll do a little rehab, and when I met him, like he was talking about his hips and all that, and I just taught him what you taught me. And he just couldn't believe it. He was messaging me like, dude, like, you know what I mean?
Isn't that crazy?
And then
someone of such high level doesn't know. You expect him to know, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. So it was like, man, and talking about what you said, like, we're not there yet. But even if you just look at where we've been progressing, man, you just look at these athletes now that can dibble dabble in all these little things that we never got to dibble dabble on before. Bro, they're like 18, 19 years old. Even some of these rugby league players, right? 100 something kilos, moving like they're fucking 60 kilos, bro.
Absolutely.
And it's ridiculous.
I treated this young forward from Manly, right? Young guy. He was freshly 18 when he came in. A huge dude, right? Big Islander dude. Very soft spoken, very nice. He comes in, I treated him and talking to him. He was 123 kilos of pure muscle. And he ran 100 meters in I think it was like 12 something. Damn. And I'm like, what the hell? How does he move 123 kilo frame? So they're getting bigger, faster, stronger. It's scary.
It's scary, man. Like, that's the thing. I've seen some of them firsthand, and I'm just like amazed at and it's just so good. I mean, look, end of the day, it's good for the generation now and generation coming, because you're just going to see them reach levels that were unheard of, that were like almost like when, I'm assuming when we grew up and stuff, like you had your, even school athletic climbers or whatever, you had your 0 to 100 and someone hits it in 12 or 13 seconds, you're like, dude, this guy's like the fastest guy in the world.
Watch out.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And and as it progresses and as, sciences and studies and technology increases, like now, and like you said, once they start, these guys from grassroots have an established team that gets to look after them, and sees, these guys are high value athletes who have big potential. It's going to be ridiculous what they can do at a stage where people didn't even reach it till they got man strength. Like we used to talk about, not me and you in general, but like as a society, we talk about man strength at one point, because you develop that strength as you get older. Now
you got 12-year-olds.
For
sure. Well, I actually think it's already happening now. I follow soccer very closely. Mate, let's talk about NBA and soccer, right? I'm not a huge NBA fan, but I can appreciate LeBron James. They play 4 games a week? And basketball is a tall, heavy. They jump, they land. There's a lot of forces going through their body. You could correct me if I'm wrong, and someone might correct me. Has he really been injured that long? Has he missed that much? Like he's pretty. Like
when you compare it to a sense of what, like someone being injured. Exactly.
And he's a big dude, right? It's a hard sport. When I look at soccer, you got guys like Gigi Buffon. He's like 45, 46, still playing at the highest level.
Ridiculous, man.
Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo. I cannot remember the last time those guys were in. They might miss a couple of games, but they don't miss games. They play Champions League, they play local, they play the cups, they play games, internationals. They play games all the time. And they're not young anymore, but they're still the top of the game. Cristiano Ronaldo scores goals more than the young 22-year-olds. When I looked at soccer back in the day, you're 18, you're breaking the scene. You're getting signed for a big
club.
There's
a window of opportunity, right?
You're 23, you're at the peak. 23, 24, you're winning World Cups. You're top world scorer. Now, man, you're 32.
Bro,
34.
I tell 30 is the new 20. And the reason I say this is even you look at you even look at just say something like fighting, right? The way I know that society is changing and that we've come to where we are is because of retirement age is getting further and further away now, and people are actually now from like professional feedback from say athletes is that dudes are hitting their peak in their 33s and 34 years old now, you know, and so now they're comfortably retiring if they want to at the age of 40, but still performing at the highest of levels, man. At the highest of levels,
and
like
that's crazy.
You know what I mean? And that's ridiculous. Like, you know, and it just shows you that because of it's not just the fact that they've looked after themselves; it's that the what they get to kind of the foundation they have now with like people like yourself and dietitians and people want data and fucking sports science. Now you can tell, like, you know, people can tell you if you rocked up to training, go home, bro. Today's not the day. You just, you know, everything about
tap into your phone, say, hey, you sleep last night, would you feel like? No, you need a rest.
So you know, like everything is to a T and to the most minus detail that really it just shows you that kind of foundation is really what people need for longevity, but to also just know how to look after themselves. And it's ridiculous, man. People 36, 37 years old are at the highest, like you said, LeBron, for example. You know, like I said, I'm you know, I don't watch basketball week in, week out, but I look at the stats and man, some of the stats. I think he was the first time for like I think it was a triple-double against every team in the NBA or something. He's the first guy to ever do it now after the last game. But he's just hitting records, hitting numbers, and like at an age where, and in sport where the stigma was always, you know, your peak is your 23 to 28, where you just at the, you know what I mean?
And we can move it back around because I think I'm not going to talk about NBA because I'm not yet, but pick it back around. We talked about before about efficiency, quality over quantity, all those things. This is it. This is the result of proper training, proper nutrition, proper sleeping, proper load management, proper injury management. These guys, man, like genetically they're gifted clearly because they're there, but they're there. They're still popping out.
That's only one part.
That's one part. And you look at them and you think like, okay, you know, in the day you used to see players that you grew up with them or athletes you grew up with, and you notice that they start slowing down or they start getting a little, and you kind of go like, oh, you know, that shining star starting to kind of. These days, man, like I don't know, like I'll talk about soccer like one thing because I know about it. I look at a player like Cristiano Ronaldo, like physically speaking, the way he looks, the way he runs.
It's ridiculous.
He's comparable to the 22-year-old. I have not seen him go, oh, he's slowed down.
No.
Whoopsies, because a lot of players, what used to happen was, let's talk about strikers, right?
The dude still looks like a freaking 25-year-old. You know what I mean? Like visually, he looks like a 25-year-old. As an age,
it's unbelievable. I look at players when they, you know, when back in the day when they used to get older and slower, they used to modify their games, right? Ronaldo, the Brazilian one, number 9, the Brazilian one, the one I grew up watching. As an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, just unbelievable pace, unbelievable skill, and a lot of defenders in that level say we were scared of him. Like he could do everything, left, right, header, sprint, dribble. Like he was unbelievable. Had knee surgery, right, and came back from that, lost a bit of speed, and I went, oh geez, you know, like okay. Even back then, we're talking 98 now, 96 to 2000. So obviously not as good as we are now. But he came back, lost a bit of speed. Wasn't really that same. Didn't have that drive, right? Modified his game. Still world's best player. Just was a bit more now technical disposition. So as his career went on, we saw different versions of him because he just modified. He's good enough, adapted to his body. He couldn't get that ball and take off, so he was more positional. But man, these days they don't give a shit. Like, hey, this is my game. I'm gonna pound it because they can. In my opinion, Cristiano Ronaldo is older and wiser and whatever, but he's still the same. He still takes play. He's still fast. He's still doing what he did, right? So as a sports fan, awesome.
I guess very high level, not just as an athlete, but having an IQ for the sport. That's something like when you have the data and whatnot, you'd be like, okay, well, this is what I can do. This is what I can't do as well as, you know, and they modify their skill set, or they modify what they're good at and try to get that, you know, try to get the best out of that on the field, as opposed to trying to keep up with a guy that's, you know, in his youth that can clearly run all day, you know what I mean?
Nothing's worse than that.
But I think like even now, like man, it's just like like, it doesn't matter if they're in their 20s or whatever, because like I said, I see guys in their 30s, guys going into their early 40s, doing things that of someone coming out the gates. Like,
are you telling me I can go back to play soccer?
Yeah, bro.
I'm 30 now.
Hey,
I've got 4 more years. Come on.
Yeah, you got all the tools, bro. You got all the tools. Your own hands are the only thing. If you could get a machine and you just plug it out, going to the future, plug them with what you know. But
so I have the age, I don't have the work ethic.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make it. It's too late for me now.
You gotta chase your little one around now, bro. Yeah.
I'll live through him.
Yeah, live through.
That's awesome.
But do you ever see with for those that don't know, Andre's business is Elevate HP, yeah.
Elevate Health.
Elevate Health, yeah. Do you ever see yourself kind of expanding from just, because there's a lot of things that you spoke about, like diet and whatnot. Do you see yourself expanding down that way, or is it something that you rather, I guess, work with people that in that industry?
That's a good question. I've thought about it, obviously. I thought about it. That's more business side of things. Of course, I'd like to create a center that's that, but the thing is, I'm also a very firm believer of staying in your lane, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I'm personally not going to start offering those services because I think it's the right thing to do, because I just wouldn't do it justice, right? Now, hiring someone to join the team and offer the service, that's something I'd be interested in. But the way I see it is, right, is usually co-inhabiting or co-managing with a group of professionals that are in the same sort of area. That's where you get the most results, right? Different sets of eyes, different sets of thoughts.
Because then you can have your mind fixated on exactly what it is.
You stick your lane. Is that what you do? You stay there, right? The moment you start sort of veering and crossing those little barriers is when you're going to run into trouble. And when the people you're treating, whether it's an athlete or a general public, that's when they don't get the results, because they're doing things that's out of your scope. So in a perfect world, am I looking to expand? I've got a different thought on expansion. I mean, I think the old model of having multiple practices in different postcodes and just churning out, it sounds corny, but I love what I do hands-on, right? In my perfect world, I will always do that. Even if I'm 60 years old, I still love to have hands-on. My expansion would be with the team underneath me, right? If a professional underneath me that's been in a practice understands the mantra, understands the goals of the business, if they say, hey, I want to do this, I'll go with them. I'll help them do it. That's the expansion that I want. The way I see it is, that balance, we talked about recovery, mindset. I couldn't think of anything worse than having 4 businesses that I have to manage, because it would mean that I'm doing less of what I like, more of what I don't like.
Then it just becomes...
It becomes a job. It sounds silly, but
when it becomes stressful, it's not enjoyable.
It's not enjoyable, right? I'm going to be sitting there. I might be, making more money and having more exposure. But is my quality staying up there? We talk about. Like, I always go back to the McDonald's business, right? It sounds a bit silly, but really, we can get Macca's at Parramatta or in the airport, and it's the same McDonald's. The service is normally the same. The food's the same. Everything's the same. How do you keep that level of service among different things? And we're in a service-based model, like personality clashes, hands-on clashes. There's a lot of things to take into account of. So I'm not interested in having this, McDonald's type of clinic where it just expands and grows that way. I'd rather have a hub where it's kind of like, okay, well, that's where the magic happens, and have multiple smaller sites that we can then outreach different people, but we can at least monitor in a smaller scale the quality so it doesn't drop. That's a killer. Quality drops.
Exactly. Because that's really what everyone's coming for ultimately.
Competition is too high.
Anyway,
in anything, right? Competition in business, competition in sport. The thing that separates you from your neighbor is how you make people feel and your results, right? With the young guys coming through, like I usually draw on the board 2 circles that overlap, right? On the left side is how you make people feel, right? Your emotional intelligence, how you read the room, how you talk to them, how they comfortable they are with you. On the right side is your technical ability, right? Now, you can be on either side of the scale. If you're very good technically, they might not like you, but you're so damn good that they'll come and see you anyway, because you're very good. You'll get them right in like 2 or 3 sessions. You'll sort them out. Now, if you're just a top bloke, they're still going to come and see you because they like the way you feel. But instead of 2 or 3 sessions, it might take 8, right? Because they're not technically there. You need to be in that smack bang in the middle, right? You want to be technically gifted. You want to be really good at diagnosing and doing what you do. But you also want to have that bedside manner that when people come in, their guards are down. They trust you. They understand the process, right? How the hell do you do that when personality is different? Some people are very technical. Some people don't like talking. Clearly, this podcast is over 4 hours. But some people don't like that. So you need to sort of keep the service level high and the quality high, whilst also catering for the people's personality. Bloody hard, man.
And that's why I asked you that at the start of the podcast, was the personality aspect, because everybody's different. Some people would will deal with situations differently, or may not be as receiving.
Yeah.
Like you know, for me, when you know, but one of the things that I felt like was an advantage was that, like, being hands-on, like you said, you like being hands-on. The second you can feel, feel how good a, you know, say, you know, a lower back pain or a tight hamstring, the second you hands-on and you know like you do dry needling or rubbing it out, and then you see how you feel that day, but more so the next couple of days, the next day, you're like, wow, like, you know what I mean? And ultimately, and you know, and I remember you telling me this, which I respected, was like, I remember telling you how I used to get deep tissues and stuff, and you're like, man, my whole thing is I don't want you to have to do that.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me that. And then this was after like I think the first session, was the first session we were just kind of catching up and whatnot. And once you've kind of been hands-on, and then you see that person, the patient gets to see how they feel, it's like, fuck, okay, what do I got to do to feel like this all the time? Automatically, show me what I got to do, Andre.
Yeah, 100%. And
that's
how
you
win them over.
You know what I mean? That's how you win them over. But and because the reason is that we were talking about the whole hands-on and not hands-on, and you know, whether it's physios, chiros, but just in general, right? Just in general, I feel like that is the advantage of trying to get people to do rehab themselves when they're not there. Because, like we said, it's boring process.
Yeah.
No, everyone just wants to be like, man, I want it to be okay. I want it to be fine, and that's it. And the truth is, it's not going to happen out of one session. Now, do you want to keep coming to me, paying out of your pocket millions of dollars for something that if you can?
Oh, millions! How much do you got? Jesus. I know what you're saying.
I'm talking about people, you know, that don't want to do rehab work themselves. They're going to end up spending a lot of money. You know what I mean? And when they could help nurse it or help the process by doing it themselves as well, right? And then it's, instead of it being 10 sessions, could be 5 sessions, because they've gone back and said, okay, Andre wants me to make sure I do this every day, even when I'm not there, you know? So I feel like the advantage of hands-on, the beauty of that whole process, even for myself, was that I got to feel what it's like how it should be.
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay,
I
need to get to work now. I need to get to work, and I need to get, you know, and I think that's the advantage. And I think if you come in and someone tells you, oh, you know, do this, do that, in your head, you're just thinking, oh, I don't know if it's just going to work. Then I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. I still feel that, you know what I mean? And then if they're coming here and they're doing it incorrectly, right, and not seeing the results, then they're going to be like, nah, I don't think this person's good. I don't think this person's good. You know what I mean?
So that happens all the time.
Yeah. So
and that's the thing, like education. I mean, we get hounded on a lot now, and you know, I tell my guys the 2 things that I measure their performance is, of course, at the end of the day, business is there to make money, right? There's certain different ways that I see about how a business like mine should make money, right? Especially because we're dealing with people that have pain, emotional pain. We try not to leverage their pain to make money. So I wanted to precursor by saying that, but when we monitor performance in practitioners, I look at, okay, how much are you billing? What are your patient numbers like? What's your retention like? Now, those give me guidelines. But the thing that I really care about is that when it's your birthday, when it's Christmas time, are you getting cards? Are you getting chocolates? Are you getting a bottle of wine? Because if you're getting those things, you create enough of an impact in your patient, you change their lives in such a positive way. They went out of their busy day to go buy you some chocolates and then say, hey, Merry Christmas. That tells me you've done a good job, right? Because they got it. The patient understood, because he went, oh, okay. So what you're saying about before about, you know, people not really understanding, they're doing it wrong, they're just not educated, right? And in my opinion, that's the practitioner's fault, in my opinion. Whether it wasn't discussed properly, whether it was too fast, too slow.
Because it was logic, like when you explained the psoas and the psoas injury and the hip flexors and the tight hamstring, it was common sense. It was logic. When I heard it, I was like, oh fuck, that makes sense.
That makes sense,
right?
But that's the bottom, right? But if you see someone and they go yabba yabba yabba, and you go, oh, I don't get it. I'll just trust him. That's dangerous, right? Because when I hire people to work and stuff like that, I like to listen to how they explain things, because if you're speaking to a neurosurgeon, you better pull out all the words that you know. Talk to their level, right? They're not dumb. Talk to their level. Tell them what's going on. If you're speaking to a GP, same thing. They understand a lot. Talk to their level. When you're speaking to someone who's in the profession, same thing. When you're speaking to a general person, don't sit there and throw massive words at their head. They don't know, right? Just if someone has that intelligence, if they truly get it, the way even I as a patient, when I go to a dentist, when I go to a physio, because I still get treated, right? I want them to explain it to me as a layperson, because if they can, it tells them they understand the process of the problem in all states. If they're talking to me up here, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I don't know. Like, why can't it just tell me, or why can't she just tell me how it is, right? Black and white. And so the logic part of it is, because let's be honest, yes, the body's complicated, but the injuries, right, they're sometimes quite simple, right? This pulls on that, this is weak, this is doing this, and that. And when you paint it out, you go, oh, okay, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
And then when you do the rehab, when you win them over, because they come back and go, yeah, that actually does work.
Yeah.
When you rehab, or when you start doing the stuff that they're lacking, then you double win them over, because they go, hey, you're all right, man. Like, I actually been doing a lot of this, and it's completely gone, right? And going back to that business in terms of like a precursor said that there's financial things. The way I think about making money, the way I think about increasing the business is that instead of you coming to see me twice a week for 6 weeks, once a week for 10 weeks, and a half a week, instead of putting this huge plan that's going to make you book in 45 sessions, right? If you saw my books, right? If you went 3-4 weeks in advance, it's empty. I don't book no one for weeks. I can't see the future. We go weekly to fortnight. Let's see how you go. Let's see how you go. Let's do this. And most of the times, I had a guy that did some observations with me. I taken some students from uni to all that, and I came out with this patient. I did some things, and I said, hey, what I want you to do is, and this is not just me, by the way, a lot of new clinics coming up, a lot of the younger chiros and physios and sports. This is not just, this is how it is now. They're just saying something like, hey, I've treated you. Get out of here. Go to the gym. Go to the gym for 2 weeks. Come back. I want you to load your body up and come back. I want to see what it's like after that. And people look at you and go, well, hold on a second. Like, how come you're not seeing them next week, right? And if you give them all these tools at home to get better, aren't you scared they're not going to come back in? Well, mate, the thing is, you fix someone like yourself, right? You understand. Like, I got you for life. You trust me. I did right by you. I didn't squeeze that penny out of you, right? I showed you how to fix it. We sometimes get injured for different things. I'm your first phone call, right? Your wife gets injured. I'm your first phone call.
100%.
So it's a slow burn, right?
Going to whatever sport, going into whatever competition you're in, right? A week out or 2 weeks out, like, yo, man, I got something going. Like, I got a fight coming up or whatever. I just want you to check everything, loosen it up. You know what I mean? And that's just one person. You know what I mean? So obviously, there's millions and thousands of people in this world, and the more the chemistry and the ideology and the understanding of what you're expecting coming to see you gets vocally spoken around, people are like, man, go to this guy, go to this guy. Like, I know myself, turn around and say, I had people from the gym like, man, my shoulder hurts and this and that. I'm like, go see you. I don't even think twice about it. You know what I mean? But that just comes from not just friends or whatever. It's that you yourself have seen the results. So you trust that person enough to be like, go and see them because they'll be able to, and that's how I said, dude, I had this injury.
So I think we met as practitioner patient before friendship.
Before friendship, exactly.
So we had that professional sort of thing.
100%.
And for me, in terms of business, and I tell the guys, we can dump money into Google AdWords. That's okay. We're going to get people. But the thing is, the quality of the patient, that second-hand trust from you telling your wife or your best mate or whoever it is in your team to come and see the practitioner, they already go through the doors with a bit of trust already. Because if Bob said it's good and Peter said it's good,
because that's what we rely on. Exactly. It's someone that you respect. So when they tell you, you're like, okay, this guy must be legit.
So when you're booking off Google, you look at some reviews. But reviews, man, like your brother leaves your review, your friend leaves your review. So reviews are important, right? Because it gives you that scope. But at the end of the day, though, you can't base it.
Doesn't give you an exact.
So what I said to the guys at work is, do right by people, and as you start out, you will have holes in your book. Make your time worth it, right? Learn stuff. You've got time on your hands, but do right by people. And what will happen is you'll get to this point where you've treated enough people so well, and hopefully the quality has been, fantastic, that it'll just churn. It'll be like this machine that churns out. Because people, unfortunately, we always get injured. We always have something.
Exactly.
We always have something. And I say to the guys, if you're treating a patient every single week, like, what's up? What's going on? Is it them that they just want to get treated every week? Or are you diagnosing them wrong? Or is there a breakdown in communication? Like, what's going on? No one needs to be treated every single week, right? Even chronic pain management people aren't every single week. So you want to sort of be managing as best you can. Some of the guys that come in more often, we call them the office furniture, the guys that come in all the time, a lot of them just come up black and white and say, hey, yo, I'm not interested in one bit about doing rehab. I don't care about it. Just fix me. Right? And you try and educate them, but I'm not going to also turn them away to say, well, sorry, I'm not going to fix you. But every time they come in, go, hey, listen, there is another way. There is another way. There is another way. Until the time they say, cool, I want to try the other way, I said, my door's open, call me when you need me. My door's open, call me when you need me. So they kind of come in and they understand the idea. Either I go off and do my active-based therapies and maybe not see Andre for 3, 4, 5 months, right? Or I'll book you next month because by the time I start loading and training and not doing the stuff I do, my body tightens up, right? And so they manage their own appointments as best they can. But that's not the model that interests me, right? I'm a guy that's result driven. As a kid, I've always wanted to do things and see the result. For me to treat something, knowing that I can fix it, but I need the help with it, I get frustrated. I think, okay, well, we're back to here again. Well, we're doing this again. You know, it's very mind numbing to just keep hitting the same stuff over and over again. So I very gently caress him towards that side.
Yeah.
Like, come on, we've had enough now. This is getting stale. Can we just, can we start doing this? And so, when you've been to my place, and one of the decisions I made was to have that rehab area at the back there. You know, financially speaking, like dollar per square meter, I could put 4 more rooms back there and make more money. But I need that area there because it's connected to my place. I can literally drag them from my room straight into the gym scenario and say, hey, the session today is out here. I've done that before where they've come in with the same problem, going, we're not treating today, let's go to the back, we're going to hang out the back. And they're like, no, let's come and hang out the back. And we get the bands out, and then suddenly I can kind of go, yo, I can't force the horse to drink, but I can lead him to the water, and maybe, hopefully, one-on-one adds up and they can get it, right? So that's the challenge that I have with that sort of mentality.
Sometimes when you have when you know these rehab practices as well, right, and little things that you can do to help yourself, like alleviating your pain. Like you said, like if you have a roller or a resistance band or whatever it is in front of you, like we're at home or wherever you are, just pick it up and just you know what to do now. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And the thing is, like, especially when you're a competitor or whatever it is, an athlete, you're never gonna stop seeing that person. But it's the regularity. It's that if you can go away and just do what you got to do, and then there will come a time when you have to, but you'll always be welcoming to come back. Because you're like, man, like, you know, there's a good relationship, good understanding, and I know that I'm getting benefit from this. But the beauty is that you can go away and work on this instead of having to come to a session to work on it. You know, and I think that's why I tell people your body can self-repair. You just got to figure out how to self-repair it. And once you do, it's like someone giving you free game. That's how I feel. When you told me, I felt like you gave me free game. It's like, dude, now I know exactly what the issue is. I know how to go about it. If there's anything else that comes over time, I'll come and see it. But end of the day, it's like, that's free game. That's shit that, you know what I mean? So
it's so true. These days we have technology. We have YouTube. You can Google up exercise. We have, and the thing is, like, it becomes so easy. We Kmart, Big W. You can walk into those places and pick up a roller for $7. You pick up a pair of bands for $12, right? Like, it's very inexpensive. It's very easy to get that stuff. It's not out of reach. Everything's very easy. We have YouTube. We have Instagram now. We post videos all the time. Sometimes if you follow, here's a little tip: if you follow 5 or 6 local physios and chiros, whatever it is, flick to their Instagram. They put up heaps of rehab stuff on there. And sometimes I have a blog about lower back pain.
Free information.
Free.
Man, I love that stuff.
Suck it up.
I crave that knowledge because there's just so much you can use that. You know, that's day-to-day stuff that you can use at any time.
As a consumer, if I had back pain, I saw a blog from a physio that gave me 10 steps to try. If I did that and it actually helped me at the end of it, because I'm like, these guys know what they're talking about. They fixed me without even, they didn't even know they fixed me. I went to their website and I read their blog. But they won me over. Like, I know they know what they're talking about because he fixed me, right? So that free information, like, there's no excuse. I never want to hear a patient come and say, hey, I don't know how to foam roll. That's okay, look, I can show you, but have you tried? Like, if you haven't tried, that's cool, but have you actually...
But like you said, these days you can go learn yourself.
Foam roller, just type in foam roll lower back YouTube. Jesus.
They'll tell you step by step.
20,000 videos, right? And you sit there and it's just one after the other. Like, you can roll your whole body out. And the new thing that's come out now is there's massage guns, right? Obviously, HAPRA, Hypervolts, they have this.
Hypervolts,
but now they're flooded. If you go on eBay and buy one for $86.
I got the Tim Tam tech.
They're flooded. And you put one in your gym bag, sit there and massage yourself, and all these things are super important, right? The more you empower people, the more they come back. That's how it is.
I just think it's connected to just good everyday living. You know what I mean? And I think there's so much, like you said, the yin and the yang, so much output and not enough rehab and not enough let me look after my body and mind. And I think when you do that, then your output is almost double what it was originally, just because you've given time to, you know what I mean? So but Andre, man, fuck, what a conversation. I appreciate it. I hope to get you back, man, at some point in the future, man. You know, because it's like you're like my encyclopedia to what's going on in the world with these things, man. But
it's always a pleasure.
I encourage any athletes that watch this, anyone that go check it out. Elevate Health. He's up in Bella Vista, Bella Vista Northwest, but go check it out. Andre's one of the best. He's legit.
I didn't pay him to say this.
No, he's not paying me to say this because I had an injury for a very long time, and I believe I put in one of my best performances in my last boxing fight because of the principles and understanding that you taught me and allowed me to see about myself and my body, and I encourage anyone that
that was all you, bro.
like I said, you're the driver, and I think sometimes you just got to be comfortable to put yourself in the position to go and be like, oh, this is how I'm feeling and whatnot, instead of kind of holding it in and being like, I can deal with it. Shout out to anyone that's looking to go and looking for someone like what Andre does. I highly suggest it. Don't have to live local, make the trip. I guarantee it'll be worth it. And man, I hope to have you on soon again.
I will come back. We can chat.
I'm sure there's more stuff that we can talk about.
We can talk for hours. So we'll go one step at a time.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.